Rural Tales, Ballads and Songs. By Robert Bloomfield, author of The Farmer's Boy. London, printed for Verner and Hood, Poultry, and Longman and Rees, Paternoster Row. By T. Bensley, Boldcourt, Fleet Street. 1802. Preface. The poems here offered to the public were chiefly written during the interval between the concluding and the publishing of The Farmer's Boy, an interval of nearly 2 years. The pieces of a later date are The Widow to Her Hourglass, The Fakenham Ghost, Walter and Jane, and c. At the tune of publishing The Farmer's Boy, circumstances occurred which rendered it necessary to submit these poems to the perusal of my friends, under whose approbation I now give them, with some confidence as to their moral merit, to the judgment of the public. And as they treat of village manners and rural scenes, it appears to me not ill-timed to avow that I have hopes of meeting in some degree the approbation of my country. I was not prepared for the decided, and I may surely say extraordinary attention which the public has shown towards The Farmer's Boy. The consequence has been such as my true friends will rejoice to hear. It has prodicted me many essential blessings. And I feel peculiarly gratified in finding that a poor man in England may assert the dignity of virtue, and speak of the imperishable beauties of nature, and be heard, perhaps, with greater attention for his being poor. Whoever thinks of me or my concerns must necessarily indulge the pleasing idea of gratitude, and join a thought of my first great friend Mr. Loft. And on this head, I believe every reader, who has himself any feeling, will judge rightly of mine. If otherwise, I would much rather he would lay down this volume, and grasp hold of such fleeting pleasures as the world's business may afford him. I speak not of that gentleman as a public character, or as a scholar. Of the former I know but little, and of the latter nothing. But I know from experience, and I glory in this fair opportunity of saying it, that his private life is a lesson of morality, his manners gentle, his heart sincere, and I regard it as one of the most fortunate circumstances of my life, that my introduction to public notice fell to so zealous and unwearied a friend. Footnote. I dare not take to myself a praise like this, and yet I was, perhaps, hardly at liberty to disclaim what should be mine, and the endeavor of every one to deserve. This I can say, that I have reason to rejoice that Mr. George Bloomfield introduced The Farmer's Boy to me. C.L. I have received many honorable testimonies of esteem from strangers, letters without a name, but filled with the most cordial advice, and almost a parental anxiety, for my safety under so great a share of public applause. I beg to refer such friends to the great teacher Time, and hope that he will hereafter give me my deserts, and no more. One piece in this collection will inform the reader of my most pleasing visit to Wakefield Lodge. Books, solitude, and objects entirely new, brought pleasures which memory will always cherish. That noble and worthy family, and all my immediate and unknown friends, will, I hope, believe the sincerity of my thanks for all their numerous favors, and candidly judge the poems before them. R. Bloomfield. September 29, 1801. P.S. Since affixing the above date, an event of much greater importance than any to which I have been witness has taken place, to the universal joy, it is to be hoped, of every inhabitant of Europe. My portion of joy shall be expressed while it is warm, and the reader will do sufficient justice, if he only believes it to be sincere. October 10th. Peace. Halt! Ye legions, sheathe your steel, blood grows precious, shed no more, cease your toils, your wounds to heal lo! Beams of mercy reach the shore. From realms of everlasting light the favored guest of heaven is come, prostrate your banners at the sight, and bear the glorious tidings home. The plunging corpse with half-closed eyes, no more shall stain unconscious brine, yon pendant gay, that streaming flies, around its idle staff shall twine. Behold! Along ethereal sky her beams o'er conquering navies spread. Peace! Peace! The leaping sailors cry, with shouts that might arouse the dead. Then forth Britannia's thunder pours, a vast reiterated sound. From line to line the cannon roars, and spreads the blazing joy around. Return, ye brave! Your country calls. Return, return, your task is done, while here the tear of transport falls, to grace your laurels nobly won. Albion cliffs, from age to age, that bear the roaring storms of heaven, did ever fiercer warfare rage? Was ever peace more timely given? Wake! Sounds of joy, rouse, generous isle, let every patriot bosom glow. Beauty, resume thy wonted smile, and poverty, thy cheerful brow. Boast, Britain, of thy glorious guests, peace, wealth, and commerce, all thine own, still on contented labor rests the basis of a lasting throne. Shout, poverty! 'Tis heaven that saves, protected wealth, the chorus raise, ruler of war, of winds, and waves, accept a prostrate nation's praise. Richard and Kate, or Fair Day. A Suffolk Ballad. Come, goody, stop your humdrum wheel, sweep up your orts, and get your hat. Old joys revived once more I feel, 'tis fair day. Aye, and more than that. The deliberation. Have you forgot, Kate, prithee say, how many seasons here we've tarried? 'Tis 40 years, this very day, since you and I, old girl, were married. Look out, the sun shines warm and bright, the stiles are low, the paths all dry. I know you cut your corns last night. Come, be as free from care as I. For I'm resolved once more to see that place where we so often met, though few have had more cares than we've none just now to make us fret. Kate scorned to damp the generous flame that warmed her aged partner's breast, yet, ere determination came, she thus some trifling doubts expressed. Difficulties, consent. Night will come on, when seated snug, and you've perhaps begun some tale, can you then leave your dear stone mug, leave all the folks, and all the ale? Aye, Kate, I will, because I know, though time has been we both could run, such days are gone and over now, I only mean to see the fun. She straight slipped off the wall and band, terms used in spinning, and laid aside her lucks and twitches, and to the hutch, a chest, she reached her hand, and gave him out his Sunday breeches. His mattock he behind the door, and hedging gloves again replacked, and looked across the yellow moor, and yargeed his tottering spouse to haste. The walk to the fair. The day was up, the air serene, the firmament without a cloud, the bee hummed o'er the level green where knots of trembling cowslips bowed. And Richard thus, with heart elate, as past things rushed across his mind, over his shoulder, talked to Kate, who snug tucked up, walked slow behind. When once a giggling mother you, and I a red-fact chubby boy, sly tricks, you played me not a few, for mischief was your greatest joy. Once, passing by this very tree, a gotch pitcher of milk I'd been to fill, you shouldered me, then laughed to see me and my gotch spin down the hill. Discourse on past days. 'Tis true, she said, but here behold, and marvel at the course of time, though you and I are both grown old, this tree is only in its prime. Well, goody, don't stand preaching now, folks don't preach sermons at a fair, we've reared 10 boys and girls you know, and I'll be bound they'll all be there. Now friendly nods and smiles had they, from many a kind fair-going face, and many a pinch Kate gave away, while Richard kept his usual pace. At length arrived amidst the throng, grandchildren bawling hemmed them round, and dragged them by the skirts along where gingerbread bestrewed the ground. The arrival dot, country sports. And soon the aged couple spied their lusty sons and daughters dear, when Richard thus exulting cried, Didn't I tell you they'd be here? The cordial greetings of the soul were visible in every face, affection, void of all control, governed with a resistless grace. 'Twas good to see the honest strife, which should contribute most to please, and hear the long recounted life, of infant tricks, and happy days. But now, as at some nobler places, amongst the leaders 'twas decreed time to begin the dicky races, more fanned for laughter than for speed. Recollections. Richard looked on with wandrouse glee, and praised the lad who a hanked to win. Kate, want I such a one as he? As like him, I as pin to pin? Full 50 years are passed away since I rode this same ground about, Lord. I was lively as the day. I won the high-lows out and out. I'm surely growing young again, I feel myself so kedge and plump. From head to foot I've not one pain, nay, hang me if I couldn't jump. Thus spoke the ale in Richard's pate, a very little made him mellow, but still he loved his faithful Kate, who whispered thus, My good old fellow. The departure. Remember what you promised me, and see, the sun is getting low, The children want an hour, ye see, to talk a bit before we go. Like youthful lover most complying, he turned, and chucked her by the chin. Then all across the green grass hieing, right merry faces, all akin. Their farewell court, beneath that drooped its branches from above, awacked the pure felicity that waits upon parental love. Kate viewed her blooming daughters round, and sons, who shook her withered hand. Her features spoke what joy she found, but utterance had made a stand. An old man's joy. The children toppled on the green, and bowled their fairings down the hill. Richard with pride beheld the scene, nor could he for his life sit still. A father's unchecked feelings gave a tenderness to all he said. My boys, how proud am I to have my name thus round the country spread. Through all my days I've labored hard, and could of pains and crosses tell. But this is labor's great reward, to meet ye thus, and see ye well. My good old partner, when at home, sometimes with wishes mingles tears. Goody, says I, let what will come, we've nothing for them but our prayers. Old man's joy continued. May you be all as old as I, and see you, sons to manhood grow, and many a time before you die, be just as pleased as I am now. Then, raising still his mug and voice, an old man's weakness don't despise. I love you well, my girls and boys, God bless you all, so said his eyes. For, as he spoke, a big round drop fell bounding on his ample sleeve, a witness which he could not stop, a witness which all hearts believe. Thou, filial piety, wert there, and round the ring, benignly bright, dwelt in the luscious half-shed tear, and in the parting word, good night. The return home. With thankful hearts and strengthened love, the poor old pair, supremely blessed, saw the sun sink behind the grove, and gained once more their lowly rest. Illustration. Walter and Jane, or The Poor Blacksmith. A Country Tale. Bright was the summer sky, the mornings gay, and Jane was young and cheerful as the day. Not yet to love but mirth she paid her vows, and echo mocked her as she called her cows. Tufts of green broom, that full in blossom vied, and gracked with spotted gold the upland side, the level fogs o'erlooked, too high to share, so lovely Jane o'erlooked the clouds of care. Jane. No meadow flower rose fresher to the view, than met her morning footsteps in the dew, where, if a nodding stranger eyed her charms, the blush of innocence was up in arms. Love's random glances struck the unguarded mind, and beauty's magic made him look behind. Duly as morning blushed or twilight came, secure of greeting smiles and village fame, she passed the store-roofed shed, in ranges where hung many a well-turned shoe and glittering share, where Walter, as the charmer tripped along, would stop his roaring bellows and his song. Dawn of affection, love's delicious sigh, caught from the lightnings of a speaking eye, that leads the heart to rapture or to woe. 'Twas Walter's fate thy maddening power to know, and scarce to know, ere in its infant twine, as the blast shakes the tendrils of the vine. The separation. The budding bliss that full of promise grew, the chilling blight of separation knew. Scarce had he told his heart's unquiet case, and Jane to shun him sighs to mend her pace, and learn to listen trembling as he spoke, and fondly judge his words beyond a joke, when, at the goal that bounds our prospects here, Jane's widowed mistress ended her career. Blessings attended her divided store, the mansion sold, Jane's peaceful home no more, a distant village owned her for its queen, another service, and another scene. But could another scene so pleasing prove, 12 weary miles from Walter and from love? The maid grew thoughtful, yet to fate resigned, knew not the worth of what she left behind. He, when at eve released from toil and heat, soon missed the smiles that taught his heart to beat. The lover's journey. Each Sabbath day of late was wont to prove hope's liberal feast, the holiday of love, but now, upon his spirit's ebbing strength came each dull hour's intolerable length. The next had scarcely dawned when Walter hied o'er hill and dale, affection for his guide, o'er the brown heath his pathless journey lay, where screaming lapwings hailed the opening day. High rose the sun, the anxious lover sight, his slippery saws bespoke the dew was dried, her last farewell hung fondly on his tongue as o'er the tufted firs elate he sprung, trifling impediments. His heart was light, for love and beauty glowed in fancy's sight, and soon he gazed on Jane's enchanting face, renewed his passion, but destroyed his peace. Truth, at whose shrine he bowed, inflicted pain, and conscience whispered, never come again. Self-denial. For now, his tide of gladness to oppose, a clay-cold damp of doubts and fears arose. Clouds, which involve, midst love and reason's strife, the poor man's prospect when he takes a wife. Though gay his journeys in the summer's prime, each seemed the repetition of a crime. He never left her but with many a sigh. When tears stole down his face, she knew not why. Severe his task those visits to forego, and feed his heart with voluntary woe. Yet this he did. The wan moon circling found his evenings cheerless, and his rest unsound, and saw unquenched flame his bosom swell. What were his doubts? Thus let the story tell. A month's sharp conflict only served to prove the power, as well as truth, of Walter's love. Absence more strongly on his mind portrayed his own sweet, injured, unoffending maid. The renewed journey. Once more he'd go, full resolute awhile, but heard his native bells on every stile. The sound recalled him with a powerful charm. The heath wide opened, and the day was warm. There, where a bed of tempting green he found, increasing anguish weighed him to the ground. His well-grown limbs the scattered daisies pressed, while his clenched hand fell heavy on his breast. Why do I go in cruel sport to say, I love thee, Jane, appoint the happy day? Why seek her sweet ingenuous reply, then grasp her hand and proffer poverty? Why, if I love her and adore her name, why act like time and sickness on her frame? Why should my scanty pittance nip her prime, and chase away the rose before its time? I'm young, 'tis true, the world beholds me free, labor ne'er showed a frightful face to me. Love of prudence. Nature's first wants hard labor should supply, but should it fail, 'twill be too late to fly. Some summers hence, if not our loves annoy, the image of my Jane may lisp her joy, or blooming boys with imitative swing may mock my arm, and make the anvil ring. Then if in rags dot, but, oh my heart, forbear, I love the girl, and why should I despair? And that I love her all the village knows. Oft from my pain the mirth of others flows, as when a neighbor's steed with glancing eye saw his pard hoof supported on my thigh. Jane passed that instant. Mischief came of course. I drove the nail awry and lammed the horse. The poor beast limped. I bore a master's frown. 1,000 times I wished the wound my own. When to these tangling thoughts I've been resigned, fury or languor has possessed my mind. Recollections. All eyes have stared. I've blown a blast so strong, forgot to smite at all, or smote too long. If at the alehouse door, with careless glee one drinks to Jane, and darts a look on me, I feel that blush which her dear name will bring, I feel. But, guilty love, 'tis not thy sting. Yet what are jeers? The bubbles of an hour. Jane knows what love can do, and feels its power. In her mild eye fair truth her meaning tells. 'Tis not in looks like hers that falsehood dwells. As water shed upon a dusty way I've seen midst downward pebbles devious stray. If kindred drops an adverse channel keep, the crystal friends toward each other creep. Near, and still nearer, rolls each little tide, expanding mirror swells on either side. They touch, 'tis done, receding bound-rise fly, an instantaneous union strikes the eye. The interview. So 'tis with us, for Jane would be my bride. Shall coward fears then turn the bliss aside? While thus he spoke he heard a gentle sound, that seemed a jarring footstep on the ground. Ashamed of grief, he bade his eyes unclose, and shook with agitation as he rose, all unprepared the sweet surprise to bear. His heart beat high, for Jane herself was there. Flushed was her cheek, she seemed the full-blown flower. For warmth gave loveliness a double power, round her fair brow the deep confusion ran, a waving handkerchief became her fan, her lips, where dwelt sweet love and smiling ease, puffed gently back the warm assailing breeze. I've traveled all these weary miles with pain, to see my native village once again, and show my true regard for neighborhind. Not like you, Walter, she was always kind. Resentment and tenderness. 'Twas thus, each soft actuation laid aside, she buoyed her spirits up with maiden pride, disclaimed her love, e'en while she felt the sting. What, come for Walter's sake? 'Twas no such thing. But when astonishment his tongue released, pride's usurpation in an instant seized. By force he caught her hand as passing by, and gazed upon her half-averted eye. His heart's distraction, and his boding fears she heard, and answered with a flood of tears, precious relief, sure friends that forward press to tell the mind's unspeakable distress. Ye youths, whom crimson health and genuine fire bear joyous on the wings of young desire, ye, who still bow to love's almighty sway, what could true passion, what could Walter say? Age, tell me true, nor shake your locks in vain, tread back your paths, and be in love again. Visit to a friend. In your young days did such a favoring hour show you the littleness of wealth and power? Advent roused climbers of the mountain's brow, while love, their master, spreads his couch below. My dearest Jane, the untaught Walter cried, as half repelled he pleaded by her side. My dearest Jane, think of me as you may. Thus, still unuttered what he strove to say, they breathed in sighs the anguish of their minds, and took the path that led to neighbor Hines. A secret joy the well-known roof inspurred, small was its store, and little they desert. Jane dried her tears, while Walter forward flew to aid the dame, who to the brink updrew the pond-roused bucket as they reached the well, and scarcely with exhausted breath could tell how welcome to her caught the blooming pair, o'er whom she watched with a maternal care. The expostulation. What ails thee, Jane? The wary matron cried. With heaving breast the modest maid replied, now gently moving back her wooden chair to shun the current of the cooling air. Not much, good dame. I'm weary by the way. Perhaps, anon, I've something else to say. Now, while the seed cake crumbled on her knee, and snowy jasmine peeped in to see, and the transparent lilac at the door, full to the sun its purple honors bore, the clamrouse hen her fearless brood displayed, and marched around, while thus the matron said, Jane has been weeping, Walter, prithee why? I've seen her laugh, and dance, but never cry. But I can guess, with her you should have been, when late I saw you loitering on the green. I'm an old woman, and the truth may tell, I say then, boy, you have not used her well. Pleadings of experience for love with extreme prudence. Jane felt for Walter, felt his cruel pain, while pity's voice brought forth her tears again. Don't scold him, neighbor, he has much to say, indeed he came and met me by the way. The dame resumed, why then, my children, why do such young bosoms heave the piteous sigh? The ills of life to you are yet unknown, death's severing shaft, and poverty's cold frown. I've felt them both, by turns, but as they passed, strong was my trust, and here I am at last. When I dwelt young and cheerful down the lane, and though I say it, I was much like Jane, o'er flowery fields with Hind, I loved to stray, and talk, and laugh, and fool the time away, and care defied, who not one pain could give, till the thought came of how we were to live, and then love plied his arrows thicker still, and proved victorious, as he always will. The victory. We braved life's storm together, while that drone, your poor old uncle, Walter, lived alone. He died the other day, when round his bed no tender soothing tear affection shed. Affection. 'Twas a plant he never knew. Why should he feast on fruits he never grew? Walter caught fire, nor was he charmed alone with conscious truth's firm elevated tone. Jane from her seat sprang forward, half afraid, attesting with a blush what good he said. Her lover took a more decided part. Oh, 'twas the very chord that touched his heart, alive to the best feelings man can prize. A bridegroom's transport sparkled in his eyes. Love, conquering power, with unrestricted range silent the arguments of time and change, and led his votary on, and bade him view, and prize the light-winged moments as they flew. The confession. All doubts gave way, all retrospective lore, whence cooler reason tortured him before. Comparison of times, the libraries higher, and many a truth reflection might inspire, sunk powerless. Dame, I am a fool, he cried, alone I might have reasoned till I died. I cowsed those tears of Jane's, but as they fell how much I felt none but ourselves can tell. While dastard fears withheld me from her sight, sighs reigned by day and hideous dreams by night. 'Twas then the soldier's plume and rolling drum seemed for a while to strike my sorrows dumb. To fly from care then half resolved I stood, and without horror mused on fields of blood, but hope prevailed. Be then the sword resigned, and I'll make shares for those that stay behind. And you, sweet girl, he would have added more, had not a glancing shadow at the door Unexpected visit. Announced a guest, who bore with winning grace his well-timed errand pictured in his face. Around with silent reverence they stood, a blameless reverence. The man was good. Wealth he had some, a match for his desires, first on the list of active country squires. Seeing the youthful pair with downcast eyes, unmoved by summer flowers and cloudless skies, pass slowly by his gate, his book resigned, he watched their steps and followed far behind, bearing with inward joy, an honest pride, a trust of Walter's kinsman ere he died, a hard-earned mite, deposited with care, and with a miser's spirit worshipped there. He found what oft the generous bosom seeks, in the dame's court cease and Jane's blushing cheeks, that consciousness of worth, that freeborn grace, which waits on virtue in the meanest place. The difficulty removed. Young man, I'll not apologize to you, nor name intrusion, for my news is true. 'Tis duty brings me here. Your wants I've heard, and can relieve, yet be the dead revered. Here, in this purse, what should have cheered a wife, lies half the savings of your uncle's life. I know your history, and your wishes know, and love to see the seeds of virtue grow. I've a spare shed that fronts the public road, make that your shop, I'll make it your abode. Thus much from me, the rest is but your due. That instant 20 pieces sprung to view. Goody, her dim eyes wiping, raised her brow, and saw the young pair look they knew not how, perils and power while humble minds forego. Who gives them half a kingdom gives them woe. Comforts may be procured and want defied, even s. With how small a sum, when right applied. How little of outward good suffices for happiness. Give love and honest industry their way, clear but the sunrise of life's little day. Those we term poor shall oft that wealth obtain, for which th ambitious sigh, but sigh in vain. Wealth that still brightens, as its stores increase, the calm of conscience, and the reign of peace. Walter's enamored soul, from news like this, now felt the dawnings of his future bliss, e'en as the redbreast sheltering in a bower mourns the short darkness of a passing shower. Then, while the azure sky extends around, darts on a worm that breaks the moistened ground, and mounts the dripping fence, with joy elate, and shares the prize triumphant with his mate, so did the youth. The treasure straight became an humble servant to love's sacred flame. Glorious subjection, thus his silence broke. Joy gave him words, still quickening as he spoke. Joy above wealth. Want was my dread, my wishes were but few, others might doubt, but Jane those wishes knew. This gold may rid my heart of pains and sighs, but her true love is still my greatest prize. Long as I live, when this bright day comes round, beneath my roof your noble deeds shall sound. But first, to make my gratitude appear, I'll shoe your honor's horses for a year. If clouds should threaten when your corn is down, I'll lend a hand, and summon half the town. If good betide, I'll sound it in my songs, and be the first avenger of your wrongs. Though rude in manners, free I hope to live. This ale's not mine, no ale have I to give. Yet, sir, though fortune frowned when I was born, let's drink eternal friendship from this horn. How much our present joy to you we owe, soon our 3 bells shall let the neighbors know. Grateful frankness. The sound shall raise e'en's stooping age awhile, and every maid shall meet you with a smile. Long may you live, the wish like lightning flew, by each repeated as the squire withdrew. Long may you live, his feeling heart rejoined, leaving well pleased such happy souls behind. Hope promise fair to cheer them to the end, with love their guide, and Goody for their friend. Illustration. The Miller's Maid. A tale. Near the high road upon a winding stream an honest miller rose to wealth and fame. The noblest virtues cheered his lengthened days, and all the country echoed with his praise. His wife, the doctress of the neighboring poor. Footnote. This village and the poor of this neighborhood know what it is to have possessed such a blessing, and feel at this moment what it is to lose it by death. C.L. Troston, 13th of September 1801, drew constant prayers and blessings round his door. The Tempest. One summer's night, the hour of rest was come, darkness unusual overspread their home. A chilling blast was felt. The foremost cloud sprinkled the bubbling pool, and thunder loud, though distant yet, mimicked the country round, and filled the heavens with its solemn sound. Who can retire to rest when tempests lour, nor wait the issue of the coming hour? Meekly resigned she sat, in anxious pain, he filled his pipe, and listened to the rain that battered furiously their strong abode, roared in the dam, and lashed the pebbled road, when, mingling with the storm, confused and wild, they heard, or thought they heard, a screaming child. The voice approached, and midst the thunder's roar, now loudly begged for mercy at the door. Mercy was there, the miller heard the call, his door he opened, when a sudden squall. The young stranger drove in a wretched girl, who weeping stood, whilst the cold rain dripped from her in a flood. With kind officiousness the tender dame roused up the dying embers to a flame, dry clothes procured, and cheered her shivering guest, and soothed the sorrows of her infant breast. But as she stripped her shoulders, lily white, what marks of cruel usage shocked their sight! Weals and blue wounds, most piteous to behold upon a child yet scarcely 10 years old. The miller felt his indignation rise, yet, as the weary stranger closed her eyes, and seemed fatigued beyond her strength and years, "Sleep, child," he said, "and wipe away your tears." They watched her slumbers till the storm was done, when thus the generous man again begun: "See, fluttering sighs that rise against her will, and agitating dreams disturb her still." This simple story, Dame, we should know before we go to rest, whence comes this girl, and how she came distressed. Wake her, and ask, for she is sorely bruised. I long to know by whom she's thus missed. Child, what's your name? How came you in the storm? Have you no home to keep you dry and warm? Who gave you all those wounds your shoulders show? Where are your parents? Whither would you go? The stranger, bursting into tears, looked pale, and this the purport of her artless tale. I have no parents, and no friends beside. I well remember when my mother died, my brother cried, and so did I that day. We had no father, he was gone away. That night we left our home new clothes to wear, the workhouse found them, we were carried there. We loved each other dearly, when we met we always shared what trifles we could get. Rustic hospitality and protection of the friendless. But George was older by a year than me, he parted from me and was sent to sea. "Goodbye, dear Phoebe," the poor fellow said. "Perhaps he'll come again, perhaps he's dead." When I grew strong enough I went to place, my mistress had a sour ill-natured face, and though I've been so often beat and chid, I strove to please her, sir, indeed I did. Weary and spiritless to bed I crept, and always cried at night before I slept. This morning I offended, and I bore a cruel beating, worse than all before. Unknown to all the house I ran away, and thus far travelled through the sultry day, and oh, don't send me back. I dare not go. I send you back, the miller cried, no, no. Appeals of wretchedness had weight with him, and sympathy would warm him every limb. The child becomes one of the family. He muttered, glorying in the work begun, "Well done, my little wench, 'twas nobly done," then said, with looks more cheering than the fire, and feelings such as pity can inspire, "My house has childless been this many a year. While you deserve it you shall tarry here." The orphan marked the ardor of his eye, blessed his kind words, and thanked him with a sigh. Thus was the sacred compact doubly sealed, thus were her spirits rised, her bruises healed, thankful, and cheerful too, no more afraid, thus little Phoebe was the miller's maid. Grateful they found her, patient of control, a most bewitching gentleness of soul made pleasure of what work she had to do, she grew in stature, and in beauty too. 5 years she passed in this delightful home, 5 happy years. But when the 6th was come, the newcomer, the miller from a market town hard by, brought home a sturdy youth his strength to try, to raise the sluice gates early every morn, to heave his powdered sacks and grind his corn, and meeting Phoebe, whom he loved so dear, "I brought you home a husband, girl, d'ye hear?" He begged for work, his money seemed but scant, those that will work 'tis pity they should want. So use him well, and we shall shortly see whether he merits what I've done, like thee. Now throbbed her heart, a new sensation weened the comely stranger was in right, for he at once assiduously strove to please so sweet a maid, and win her love. At every corner stopped her in her way, and saw fresh beauties opening every day. He took delight in tracing in her face the mantling blush, and every nameless grace. Footnote: a maxim which all ought to remember. Cl. First Impressions. That sensibility would bring to view, when love he mentioned, love, and honor true, but Phoebe still was shy, and wished to know more of the honest youth, whose manly brow she verily believed was truth's own throne, and all his words as artless as her own. Most true she judged, yet, long the youth forbore divulging where, and how, he lived before, and seemed to strive his history to hide, till fair esteem enlisted on his side. The miller saw, and mentioned, in his prods, the prompt fidelity of all his ways, till in a vacant hour, the dinner done, one day he jocularly cried, "Come here, my son! 'Tis pity that so good a lad as you beneath my roof should bring disorders new. But here's my Phoebe, once so light and airy, she tripped along the passage like a fairy. Inquiry. Ingenuous explanation. Has lost her swiftness quite, since here you came, and yet, I can't perceive the girl is lame. The obstacles she meets with still fall thicker, old as I am I'd turn a corner quicker." The youth blushed deep, and Phoebe hung her head. The good man smiled, and thus again he said, "Not that I deem it matter of surprise that you should love to gaze at Phoebe's eyes, but be explicit, boy, and deal with honor. I feel my happiness depend upon her. When here you came you'd sorrow on your brow, and I've forborne to question you till now. First, then, say what thou art." He instant bowed, and thus, in Phoebe's hearing, spoke aloud. "Thus far experienced, sir, in you I find all that is generous, fatherly, and kind, and while you look for proofs of real worth, you'll not regard the meanness of my birth. The little history. When, penniless and sad, you met with me, I'd just escaped the dangers of the sea, resolved to try my fortune on the shore, to get my bread, and trust the waves no more. Having no home, nor parents, left behind, I'd all my fortune, all my friends, to find. Keen disappointment wounded me that morn, for, traveling near the spot where I was born, I at the well-known door where I was bred, inquired who still was living, who was dead, but first, and most, I sought with anxious fear tidings to gain of her who once was dear, a girl, with all the meekness of the dove, the constant sharer of my childhood's love. She called me brother, which I heard with pride, though now suspect we are not so allied. Thus much I learnt. No more the churls would say winky face she went to service, and she ran away. The recognition. And scandal added. Hold, the miller cried, and in an instant stood at Phoebe's side, for he observed, while listening to the tale, her spirits faltered, and her cheeks turned pale. Whilst her clasped hands descended to her knees she sinking whispered forth, "O God, 'tis he!" The good man, though he guessed the pleasing truth, was far too busy to inform the youth, but stirred himself amain to aid his wife, who soon restored the trembler back to life. A while insensible she still appeared, but, "O my brother!" was distinctly heard. The astonished youth now held her to his breast, and tears and kisses soon explained the rest. Past deeds now from each tongue alternate fell, for news of dearest import both could tell. Fondly, from childhood's tears to youth's full prime, they matched the incidents of jogging time. Mutual recollections. And proved, that when with tyranny oppressed, poor Phoebe groaned with wounds and broken rest, George felt no less, was harassed and forlorn. A rope's end followed him both night and morn. And in that very storm when Phoebe fled, when the rain drenched her yet unsheltered head, that very storm he on the ocean braved, the vessel foundered, and the boy was saved. Mysterious heaven, and oh with what delight, she told the happy issue of her flight, to his charmed heart a living picture drew, and gave to hospitality its due. The listening host observed the gentle pair, and pondered on the means that brought them there, convinced, while unimpeached their virtue stood, 'twas heaven-s high will that he should do them good. But now the anxious dame, impatient grown, demanded what the youth had heard, or known. The investigation. Whereon to ground those doubts but just expressed, doubts, which must interest the feeling breast. Her brother wert thou, George? How, prithee say, canst thou forego, or cast that name away? No living proofs have I, the youth replied, that we by closest ties are not allied, but in my memory live, and ever will. A mother's dying words, I hear them still, she said, to one who watched her parting breath. Don't separate the children at my death, they're not both mine, but... Here the scene was closed, she died, and left us helpless and exposed. Nor time hath thrown, nor reason's opening power, one friendly ray on that benighted hour. Ne'er did the chieftains of a warring state hear from the oracle their half-told fate with more religious fear, or more suspense, than Phoebe now endured, for every sense. The perplexity became absorbed in this unwelcome theme, nay, every meditation, every dream, inexplicable sentence held to view, they're not both mine, was every morning new, for, till this hour, the maid had never proved how far she was enthralled, how much she loved. In that fond character he first appeared. His kindness charmed her, and his smiles endeared. This dubious mystery the passion crossed. Her peace was wounded, and her lover lost. For George, with all his resolution, strove to check the progress of his growing love, or, if he e'er indulged a tender kiss, unraveled secret robbed him of his bliss. Health's foe, suspense, so irksome to be borne, an ever-piercing and retreating thorn, hung on their hearts, when nature bade them rise, and stole content's bright ensign from their eyes. Anxiety, the inquirer suggested. The good folks saw the change, and grieved to find these troubles laboring in Phoebe's mind. They loved them both, and with one voice proposed the only means whence truth might be disclosed, that, when the summer months should shrink the rill, and scarce its languid stream would turn the mill, when the spring broods, and pigs, and lambs were reared, a time when George and Phoebe might be sparred, their birthplace they should visit once again, to try with joint endeavors to obtain from record, or tradition, what might be to chain, or set their chained affections free, affinity beyond all doubts to prove, or clear the road for nature and for love. Never, till now, did Phoebe count the hours, or think May long, or wish away its flowers. With mutual sighs both fan the wings of time, as we climb hills and gladden as we climb. Eager expectation. And reach at last the distant promised seat, casting the glowing landscape at our feet. Oft had the morning rose with dew been wet, and oft the journeying sun in glory set, beyond the willowed meads of vigorous grass, the steep green hill, and woods they were to pass, when now, the day arrived, impatience reigned, and George, by trifling obstacles detained, his bending blackthorn on the threshold pressed, surveyed the windward clouds, and hoped the best. Phoebe, attired with every modest grace, while health and beauty revelled in her face, came forth, but soon evinced an absent mind, for back she turned for something left behind, again the same, till George grew tired of home, and peevishly exclaimed, "Come, Phoebe, come." Another hindrance yet he had to feel, as from the door they tripped with nimble heel. The old soldier, a poor old man, foot-foundered and alone, thus urgent spoke, in trouble's genuine tone, "My pretty maid, if happiness you seek, may disappointment never fade your cheek, yours be the joy, yet feel another's woe, oh leave some little gift before you go." His words struck home, and back she turned again, the ready friend of indigence and pain, to banish hunger from his shattered frame, and close behind her, lo, the miller came, with jug in hand, and cried, "George, why such haste? Here, take a draught, and let that soldier taste." "Thanks for your bounty, sir," the veteran said, threw down his wallet, and made bare his head, and straight began, though mixed with doubts and fears, unprefect history of his latter years. "I crossed Atlantic with our regiment, brave, where sickness sweeps whole regiments to the grave. The surprise. Yet I've escaped, and bear my arms no more. My age discharged me when I came on shore. My wife, I've heard," and here he whipped his eyes, "in the cold corner of the churchyard lies. By her consent it was I left my home, employment failed, and poverty wa come, the bounty tempted me, she had it all, we parted, and I've seen my betters fall. Yet, as I'm sparred, though in this piteous case, I'm trailing homeward to my native place, though should I reach that dear remembered spot, perhaps old Granger will be quite forgot." All eyes beheld young George with wonder start, strong were the secret bodings of his heart, yet not indulged, for he with doubts surveyed by turns the stranger, and the lovely maid. "Had you no children?" "Yes, young man, I'd too, a boy if still he lives, as old as you." The discovery. "Yet not my own, but likely so to prove, though but the pledge of an unlawful love. I cherished him, to hide a sister's shame, he shard my best affections, and my name. But why, young folks, should I detain you here? Go, and may blessings wait upon your cheer. I too will travel on, perhaps to find the only treasure that I left behind. Such kindly thoughts my fainting hopes revive. Phoebe, my cherub, art thou still alive? Could nature hold, could youthful love forbear? George clasped the wondering maid, and whispered there. Your mind for ever, oh, sustain the rest, and hush the tumult of your throbbing breast. Then to the soldier turned, with manly pride, and fondly led his long-intended bride. Here see your child, nor wish a sweeter flower. 'Tis George that speaks, thou LT bless the happy hour, the bliss of disinterested benevolence. Nay, be compassed, for all will yet be well, though here our history's too long to tell. A long-lost father found, the mystery cleared, what mingled transports in her face appeared. The gazing veteran stood with hands upraised. Art thou indeed my child? Then, God be praised. O'er his rough cheeks the tears profusely spread, such as fools say become not men to shed. Past hours of bliss, regenerated charms, rose, when he felt his daughter in his arms. So tender was the scene, the generous dame wept, as she told of Phoebe's virtuous fame, and the good host, with gestures passing strange, abstracted seemed through fields of joy to range, rejoicing that his favored roof should prove virtue's asylum, and the nurse of love, rejoicing that to him the task was given. His full soul was mounting up to heave in the adopted daughter. But now, as from a dream, his reason sprung, and heartiest greetings dwelt upon his tongue. The sounding kitchen floor at once received the happy group, with all their fears relieved. Soldier, he cried, you've found your girl, 'tis true, but suffer me to be a father too, for never child that blessed a parent's knee could show more duty than she has to met. Strangely she came, affliction chased her hard, I pitied her, and this is my reward. Here sit you down, recount your perils o'er, henceforth be this your home, and grieve no more. Plenty has showered her dewdrops on my head, care visits not my table, nor my bed. My heart's warm wishes thus then I fulfill, my dame, and I can live without the mill. George, take the whole, I'll near you still remain to guide your judgment in the choice of grain. Perfect content, hopes and prospects of goodness. In virtue's path commence your prosperous life, and from my hand receive your worthy wife. Rise, Phoebe, rise, my girl, kneel not to me, but to that power who interposed for thee. Integrity hath marked your favorite youth, fair budding honor, constancy, and truth, go to his arms, and may unsullied joys bring smiling round me, rosy girls and boys. I'll love them for thy sake. And may your days glide on, as glides the stream that never stays, bright as whose shingled bed, till life's decline, may all your worth, and all your virtues shine. Illustration. The widow to her hourglass. Come, friend, I'll turn thee up again, companion of the lonely hour. Spring 30 times hath fed with rain and clothed with leaves my humble bower, since thou hast stood in frame of wood, on chest or window by my side. At every birth still thou wert near, still spoke thine admonitions clear. And when my husband died, I've often watched thy streaming sand and seen the growing mountain rise, and often found life's hopes to stand on props as weak in wisdom's eyes, its conic crown still sliding down, again heaped up, then down again. The sand above more hollow grew, like days and years still filtering through, and mingling joy and pain. While thus I spin and sometimes sing, for now and then my heart will glow. Thou measures time's expanding wing, by thee the noontide hour I know. Though silent thou, still shalt thou flow, and jog along thy destined way. But when I glean the sultry fields, when earth her yellow harvest yields, thou gett'st a holiday. Steady as truth, on either end thy daily task performing well, thou art meditation's constant friend, and strik'st the heart without a bell. Come, lovely May! Thy lengthened day shall gild once more thy native plain. Curl inward here, sweet woodbine flower, companion of the lonely hour, I'll turn thee up again. Illustration. Market night. O winds, howl not so long and loud, nor with your vengeance arm the snow. Bear hence each heavy loaded cloud, and let the twinkling starbeams glow. Now sweeping floods rush down the slope, wide scattering ruin. Stars, shine soon! No other light my love can hope, midnight will want the joyous moon. O guardian spirits, ye that dwell where woods, and pits, and hollow ways, the lone night traveller's fancy swell with fearful tales of older days. Press round him, guide his willing steed through darkness, dangers, currents, snows, wait where, from sheltering thickets freed, the dreary heat's rude whirlwind blows. From darkness rushing o'er his way, the thorn's white load it bears on high. Where the short firs all shrouded lay, mounts the dried grass, earth's bosom dry. Then o'er the hill with furious sweep it rends the elevated tree, sure-footed beast, thy road thou wilt keep, nor storm nor darkness startles thee. O blessed assurance, trusty steed, to thee the buried road is known, home, all the spur thy footsteps need, when loose the frozen rain is thrown. Between the roaring blasts that shake the naked elder at the door, though not one prouder to me speak, their sleeping sighs delight me more. Sound is their rest, they little know what pain, what cold, their father feels, but dream, perhaps, they see him now, while each the promised orange peels. Would it were so, the fire burns bright, and on the warming trencher gleams, in expectation's raptured sight how precious his arrival seems. I'll look abroad, 'tis piercing cold, how the bleak wind assails his breast. Yet some faint light mine eyes behold, the storm is verging o'er the west. There shines a star. O welcome sight, through the thin vapors brightening still! Yet 'twas beneath the fairest night the murderer stained yon lonely hill. Mercy, kind heaven! Such thoughts dispel. No voice, no footstep can I hear. Where night and silence brooding dwell, spreads thy cold rain, heart-chilling fear. Distressing hour! Uncertain fate! O mercy, mercy, guide him home, hark! Then I heard the distant gate, repeated, echo, quickly come! 1 minute now will ease my fears, or still more wretched must I be. No, surely heaven has spared our tears, I see him, clothed in snow, 'tis he. Where have you stayed? Put down your load. How have you borne the storm, the cold? What horrors did I not forebode? That beast is worth his weight in gold. Thus spoke the joyful wife, then ran and hid in grateful steams her head. Dapple was housed, the hungry man with joy glanked o'er the children's bed. What, all asleep, so best, he cried, oh, what a night I've travelled through! Unseen, unheard, I might have died, but heaven has brought me safe to you. Dear partner of my nights and days, that smile becomes thee. Let us then learn, though mishap may cross our ways, it is not ours to reckon when. The Fakenham Ghost. A Ballad. The lawns were dry in Euston Park. Here truth, one, inspires my tale. The lonely footpath, still and dark, led over hill and dale. Footnote 1. This ballad is founded on a fact. The circumstance occurred perhaps long before I was born, but is still related by my mother, and some of the oldest inhabitants in that part of the country. R.B. Benighted was an ancient dame, and fearful haste she made to gain the vale of Fakenham, and hail its willow's shade. Her footsteps knew no idle stops, but followed faster still, and echoed to the darksome copse that whispered on the hill. Where clamrouse rooks, yet scarcely hushed, bespoke a peopled shade, and many a wing the foliage brushed, and veering circuits made. The dappled herd of grazing deer that sought the shades by day, now started from her path with fear, and gave the stranger way. Darker it grew, and darker fears came o'er her troubled mind, when now, a short quick step she hears come padding close behind. She turned, it stopped, naught could she see upon the gloomy plain, but as she strove the sprite to flee, she heard the same again. Now terror seized her quaking frame, for, where the path was bare, the trotting ghost kept on the same. She muttered many a prayer. Yet once again, amidst her fright she tried what sight could do, when through the cheating glooms of night, a monster stood in view. Regardless of whatever she felt, it followed down the plain. She owned her sins, and down she knelt, and said her prayeress again. Then on she sped, and hope grew strong, the white park gate in view, which pushing hard, so long it swung that ghost and all passed through. Loud fell the gate against the post. Her heartstrings like to crack, for, much she feared the grisly ghost would leap upon her back. Still on, pat, pat, the goblin went, as it had done before, her strength and resolution spent, she fainted at the door. Out came her husband much surprised, out came her daughter dear, good-natured souls, all unadvised of what they had to fear. The candle's gleam peered through the night, some short space o'er the green, and there the little trotting sprite distinctly might be seen. An ass's foal had lost its dam within the spacious park, and simple as the playful lamb had followed in the dark. No goblin he, no imp of sin, no crimes had ever known. They took the shaggy stranger in, and reared him as their own. His little hoofs would rattle round upon the cottage floor. The matron learned to love the sound that frightened her before. A favorite the ghost became, and 'twas his fate to thrive, and long he lived and spread his fame, and kept the joke alive. For many a laugh went through the vale, and some conviction taught, each thought some other goblin perhaps was just as true. Illustration: The French Mariner. A ballad. An old French mariner am I, whom time hath rendered poor and grey, here, conquering Britons, ere I die. What anguish prompts me thus to say? I've rowed o'er many a dreadful wave, I've seen the reeking blood descend, I've heard the last groans of the brave, the shipmate dear, the steady friend. 'Twas when de Grasse the battle joined and struck, on April's fatal morn, I left 3 smiling boys behind, and saw my country's lily torn. There, as I braved the storms of fate, dead in my arms my brother fell. Here sits forlorn his widowed mate, who weeps weener the tale I tell. Thy reign, sweet peace, was o'er too soon. War, piecemeal, robs me of my joy, for, on the blood-stained 1st of June, death took my eldest favorite boy. The other 2 enragged arose. Our country claims our lives, they said. With them I lost my soul's repose. That fatal hour my last hope fled. With Breeze the proud now they sought, where one in lingering wounds expired, while yet the other bravely fought. The Orient's magazine was furred. And must I mourn my country's shame? And envious curse the conquering foe? No more I feel that thirst of fame, all I can feel is private woe. E'en all the joy that victory brings, her bellowing guns, and flaming pride, cold, momentary comfort flings around where weeping friends reside. Whose blighted bud no sun shall cheer, whose lamp of life no longer shine, some parent, brother, child, most dear, who've entered, and who died like mine. Proud crested fiend, the world's worst foe, ambition, canst thou boast one deed, whence no unsightly horrors flow, nor private peace is seen to bleed? Ah! Why do these old eyes remain to see succeeding mornings rise? My wife is dead, my children slain, and poverty is all my prize. Yet shall not poor enfeebled age breathe forth revenge, but rather say, O God, who sayest the battle's rage, take from men's hearts that rage away. From the vindictive tongue of strife bid hatred and false glory see, that babes may meet advancing life, nor feel the woes that light on me. Illustration: Dolly. Ingenuous trust, and confidence of love. The bat began with giddy wing his circuit round the shed, the tree, and clouds of dancing gnats to sing a summer night's serenity. Darkness crept slowly o'er the east. Upon the barn roof watched the cat, sweet-breathed the ruminating beast at rest where Dolly musing sat. A simple maid, who could employ the silent lapse of evening mild, and loved its solitary joy, for Dolly was reflection's child. He who had pledged his word to be her life's dear guardian, far away, the flower of yeoman cavalry, best strode a steed with trappings gay. And thus from memory's treasured sweets, and thus from love's pure fount she drew that peace, which busy care defeats, and bids our pleasures bloom anew. 6 weeks of absence have I borne since Henry took his fond farewell. The charms of that delightful morn my tongue could thus forever tell. He at my window whistling loud, heiress my lightsome heart to go, day, conquering climbed from cloud to cloud, the fields all wore a purple glow. We strolled the bordering flowers among, one hand the bridle held behind, the other round my waist was flung, sure never youth spoke half so kind. The rising lark I could but hear, and jocund seemed the song to be, but sweeter sounded in my ear, will Dolly still be true to me? From the rude dock my skirt had swept a fringe of clinging burrs so green, like them our hearts still closer crept, and hooked 1,000 holds unseen. High o'er the road each branching bough its globes of silent dew had shed, and on the pure washed sand below the dimpling drops around had spread. The sweet briar opt its pinky wide rose, and gave its fragrance to the gale, though modest flowers may sweets disclose, more sweet was Henry's earnest tale. He seemed, methought, on that dear morn, to pour out all his heart to me, as if, the separation born, the coming hours would joyless be. A bank rose high beside the way, and full against the morning sun, of he and Ly blew their violets gay, his hand invited one by. The posy with a smile he gave, I saw his meaning in his eyes, the withered treasure still I have, my bosom holds the fragrant prize. With his last kiss he would have vowed, but blessings crowding forked their way, then mounted he his courser proud, his time elapsed, he could not stay. Then first I felt the parting pang, sure the worst pang the lover feels. His horse unruly from me sprang, the pebbles flew beneath his heels. Then down the road his vigor tried, his rider gazing still. My dearest, I'll be true, he cried, and if he lives I'm sure he will. Then haste, ye hours, haste, eve and morn, yet strew your blessings round my home, ere winter's blast shall strip the thorn my promised joy, my love, will come. Lines occasioned by a visit to Widowberry Forest, Northamptonshire, in August 1800. Addressed to my children. Genius of the forest shades, lend thy power, and lend thine ear. A stranger trod thy lonely glades, amidst thy dark and bounding deer. Inquiring childhood claims the verse, oh let them not inquire in vain. Be with me while I thus rehearse the glories of thy sylvan reign. Thy dells by wintry currents worn, secluded haunts, how dear to me! From all but nature's converse born, no ear to hear, no eye to see. Their honored leaves the green oaks reared, and crowned the upland's graceful swell, while answering through the vale was heard each distant heifer's tinkling bell. Hail, greenwood shades, that stretching far, defy e'en summer's noontide power, when August in his burning car withholds the cloud, withholds the shore. The deep-toned low from either hill, down hazel aisles and arches green, the herd's rude tracks from rill to rill, roared echoing through the solemn scene. From my charmed heart the numbers sprung, though birds had CA's the choral lay. I poured wild raptures from my tongue, and gave delicious tears their way. Then, darker shadows seeking still, where human foot had seldom strayed, I read aloud to every hill sweet Emma's love, the nut-brown maid. Shaking his matted mane on high the gazing colt would raise his head, or, timorous doe would rushing fly, and leave to me her grassy bed, where, as the azure sky appeared through bowerettes of every varying form, midst the deep gloom methought I heard the daring progress of the storm. How would each sweeping pond-rouse bough resist, when straight the whirlwind cleaves, dashing and strengthening eddies through a roaring wilderness of leaves? How would the prone descending shower from the green canopy rebound? How would the lowland torrents pour? How deep the pealing thunder sound? But peace was there, no lightnings blazed, no clouds obscured the face of heaven. Down each green opening while I gazed, my thoughts to home, and you, were given. O tender minds! In life's gay morn some clouds must dim your coming day, yet, bootless pride and falsehood scorn, and peace like this shall cheer your way. Now, at the dark wood's stately side, well pleased I met the sun again, here fleeting fancy travelled wide. My seat was destined to the main, for many an oak lay stretched at length, whose trunks, with bark no longer sheathed, had reached their full meridian strength before your father's father breath. Perhaps they'll many a conflict brave, and many a dreadful storm defy, then groaning o'er the adverse wave, bring home the flag of victory. Go, then, proud oaks, we meet no more. Go, grace the scenes to me denied, the white cliffs round my native shore, and the loud ocean's swelling tide. Genius of the forest shades, sweet, from the heights of thy domain, when the grey evening's shadow fades, to view the country's golden grain. To view the gleaming village spire midst distant groves unknown to me, groves, that grown bright in borrowed fire, bow o'er the peopled valleys to thee. Where was thy elfin train that play round Wake's huge oak, their favourite tree? May a poor son of song thus say, why were they not revealed to me? Yet, smiling fairies left behind, affection brought you to nigh view, to love and tenderness resigned, I sat me down and thought of you. When morning still unclouded rose, refreshed with sleep and joyous dreams, where fruitful fields with woodlands close, I tracked the births of various streams. From beds of clay, here creeping rills unseen to parent ooze would steal, or, gushing from the northward hills, would glitter through Tove's winding dale. But ah! Ye cooling springs, farewell! Herds, I no more your freedom share, but long my grateful tongue shall tell what brought your gazing stranger there. Genius of the forest shades, lend thy power, and lend thine ear, let dreams still lengthen thy long glades, and bring thy peace and silence here. Song for a Highland drover returning from England. Now fare thee well, England, no further I'll roam, but follow my shadow that points the way home. Your gay southern shores shall not tempt me to stay, for my Maggie's at home, and my children at play. 'Tis this makes my bonnet set light on my brow, gives my sinews their strength, and my bosom its glow. Farewell, mountaineers! My companions, adieu! Soon, many long miles when I'm severed from you, I shall miss your white horns on the brink of the bourne, and o'er the rough heaths, where you'll never return. But in brave English pastures you cannot complain, while your drover speeds back to his Maggie again. O Tweed! Gentle Tweed, as I pass your green valleys, more than life, more than love, my tiered spirit inhales. There Scotland, my darling, lies full in my view, with her barefooted lasses and mountains so blue. To the mountains away, my heart bounds like the hind, for home is so sweet, and my Maggie so kind. As day after day I still follow my course, and in fancy trace back every stream to its source, hope cheers me up hills, where the road lies before o'er hills just as high, and o'er tracts of wild moor, the keen polar star nightly rising to view. But Maggie's my star, just as steady and true. O ghosts of my fathers! O heroes, look down! Fix my wandering thoughts on your deeds of renown, for the glory of Scotland reigns warm in my breast, and fortitude grows both from toil and from rest. May your deeds and your worth be forever in view, and may Maggie bear sons not unworthy of you. Love, why do you urge me, so weary and poor? I cannot step faster, I cannot do more. I've passed Silver Tweed, e'en the Tay flows behind, yet fatigue I'll disdain. My reward I shall find, thou, sweet smile of innocence, thou art my prize, and the joy that will sparkle in Maggie's blue eyes. She'll watch to the southward, perhaps she will sigh, that the way is so long, and the mountains so high. Perhaps some huge rock in the dust she may see, and will say in her fondness, that surely is he. Good wife, you're deceived, I'm still far from my home. Go, sleep, my dear Maggie, tomorrow I'll come. A word to two young ladies. When tender rose trees first receive on half-expanded leaves the shower, hope's gayest pictures we believe, and anxious watch each coining flower. Then, if beneath the genial sun that spreads abroad the full-blown May, two infant stems the rest outrun, their buds the first to meet the day. With joy their opening tints we view, while morning's precious moments fly, my pretty maids, 'tis thus with you, the fond admiring gazer, I. Preserve, sweet buds, where'er you be, the richest gem that decks a wife, the charm of female modesty, and let sweet music give it life. Still may the favoring muse be found, still circumspect the paths ye tread, plant moral truths in fancy's ground, and meet old age without a dread. Yet, ere that comes, while yet ye quaff the cup of health without a pain, I'll shake my grey hairs when you laugh, and when you sing, be young again. Both the young ladies had addressed to me a few complimentary lines, and I am sorry that those of the elder sister were never in my possession. Winky face in return for which I sent the above. It was received on the day on which the younger completed her 9th year. Surely it cannot be ascribed to vanity, if, in gratitude to a most amiable family, I here preserve verbatim an effort of a child 9 years old. I hear the more pleasure in doing it, because I know them to be her own. R.B. Accept, dear bard, the muse's genuine thought, and take not the tribute of my heart, for thee the low-reed wreath of praise I'll bind. None that have read thy commendable mind can let it pass unnoticed, nor can I, for by thy lays I know thy sympathy. F.P. On hearing the translation of part of The Farmer's Boy into Latin, by the Rev. Mr. C. Hey, Giles! In what new garb art dressed? For lads like you methinks a bold one. I'm glad to see thee so caressed. But hark ye, don't despise your old one. Thou art he not the first by many, a boy who found abroad good friends to own em, then, in such coats have shown their joy, e'en their own fathers have not known em. Illustration. Nancy. A song. You asked me, dear Nancy, what makes me presume that you cherish a secret affection for me? When we see the flowers bud, don't we look for the bloom? Then, sweetest, attend, while I answer to thee. When we young men with pastimes the twilight beguile, I watch your plump cheek till it dimples with joy, and observe, that whatever occasions the smile, you give me a glance, but provokingly coy. Last month, when wild strawberries plucked in the grove, like beads on the tall seeded grass you had strung, you gave me the choicest. I hoped 'twas for love, and I told you my hopes while the nightingale sung. Remember the viper, 'twas close at your feet, how you started, and threw yourself into my arms. Not a strawberry there was so ripe nor so sweet as the lips which I kissed to subdue your alarms. As I pulled down the clusters of nuts for my fare, what a blow I received from a strong bending bough. Though Lucy and other gay lasses were there, not one of them showed such compassion as you. And was it compassion? By heaven 'twas more! A telltale betrays you, that blush on your cheek. Then come, dearest maid, all your trifling give o'er, and whisper what candor will teach you to speak. Can you stain my fair honor with one broken vow? Can you say that I've ever occasioned a pain? On truth's honest base let your tenderness grow. I swear to be faithful, again and again. Illustration. Rosy Hannah. A spring o'erhung with many a flower, the grey sand dancing in its bed, embanked beneath a hawthorn bower, sent forth its waters near my head. A rosy lass approached my view. I caught her blue eyes' modest beam. The stranger nodded how d'ye do, and leaped across the infant stream. The water heedless passed away, with me her glowing image stayed. I strove, from that auspicious day, to meet and bless the lovely maid. I met her where beneath our feet through downy moss the wild thyme grew, nor moss elastic, flowerest though sweet, matched Hannah's cheek of rosy hue. I met her where the dark woods wave, and shaded verdure skirts the plain, and when the pale moon rising gave new glories to her cloudy train. From her sweet cot upon the moor our plighted vows to heaven are flown. Truth made me welcome at her door, and rosy Hannah is my own. Illustration. Song. The Shepherd and his Dog Rover. Rover, awake! The grey cock crows. Come, shake your coat and go with me. High in the east the green hill glows, and glory crowns our sheltering tree. The sheep expect us at the fold, my faithful dog, let's haste away, and in his earliest beams behold, and hail, the source of cheerful day. Half his broad orb o'erlooks the hill, and darting down the valley flies, at every casement welcome still, the golden summons of the skies. Go, fetch my staff, and o'er the dews let echo waft thy gladsome voice. Shall we a cheerful note refuse when rising morn proclaims rejoice? Now then we'll start, and thus I'll sling our store, a trivial load to bear, yet, ere night comes, should hunger sting, I'll not encroach on Rover's share. The fresh breeze bears its sweets along, the lark but chides us while we stay, soon shall the vale repeat my song, go brush before, away, away. Hunting Song. Ye darksome woods where echo dwells, where every bud with freedom swells to meet the glorious day, the morning breaks, again rejoice, and with old Ringwood's well-known voice bid tuneful echo play. We come, ye groves, ye hills, we come, the vagrant fox shall hear his doom, and dread our jovial train. The shrill horn sounds, the courser flies, while every sportsman joyful cries, there's Ringwood's voice again. Ye meadows, hail the coming throng, ye peaceful streams that wind along, repeat the hark away far o'er the downs, ye gales that sweep, the daring oak that crowns the steep, the roaring peal convey. The chiming notes of cheerful hounds, hark! How the hollow dale resounds, the sunny hills how gay! But where's the note, brave dog, like thine? Then urge the steed, the chorus join, 'tis Ringwood leads the way. Illustration. Lucy. A Song. Thy favorite bird is soaring still, my Lucy, haste thee o'er the dale, the stream's let loose, and from the mill all silent comes the balmy gale, yet, so lightly on its way, seems to whisper holiday. The pathway flowers that bending meet and give the meads their yellow hue, The May bush and the meadow sweet reserve their fragrance all for you. Why then, Lucy, why delay? Let us share the holiday. Since there thy smiles, my charming maid, are with unfeigned rapture seen, to beauty be the homage paid. Come, claim the triumph of the green. Here's my hand, come, come away, share the merry holiday. A promise to my Lucy made, and shall my heart its claim resign, that ere Mayflowers again should fade, her heart and hand should both be mine. Hark ye, Lucy, this is May, love shall crown our holiday. Winter Song. Dear boy, throw that icicle down, and sweep this deep snow from the door. Old winter comes on with a frown, a terrible frown for the poor. In a season so rude and forlorn, how can age, how can infancy bear the silent neglect and the scorn of those who have plenty to spare? Fresh broached is my cask of old ale, welcome now the frost is set in. Here's Job come to tell us a tale, we'll make him at home to a pin. While my wife and I bask o'er the fire, the roll of the seasons will prove that time may diminish desire, but cannot extinguish true love. Oh, the pleasures of neighborly chat, if you can but keep scandal away, to learn what the world has been at, and what the great orators say, though the wind through the crevices sing, and hail down the chimney rebound, I'm happier than many a king while the bellows blow bass to the sound. Abundance was never my lot, but out of the trifle that's given, that no curse may alight on my cot, I'll distribute the bounty of heaven. The fool and the slave gather wealth, but if I add not to my store, yet while I keep conscience in health, I've a mind that will never grow poor.